The story begins on a winding country road in rural Pennsylvania. It is late afternoon, transitioning into dusk, as a car navigates the twisting pavement. Inside, we meet siblings Johnny and Barbara. They have been driving for hours, a journey that has left Johnny irritable and Barbara weary. They are on a tedious annual pilgrimage to place a wreath on their father's grave, a request from their mother who couldn't make the trip herself. Johnny, the driver, is cynical and complains about the lost time, the long drive, and the fact that they will be driving back in the dark. Barbara tries to maintain a sense of duty, but Johnny's constant griping wears on her. They arrive at the cemetery as the shadows lengthen. It is a desolate, quiet place. As they walk toward the grave, the atmosphere is heavy with silence, broken only by the wind and the crunch of their footsteps. Johnny, sensing Barbara's unease in the spooky setting, begins to tease her. He adopts a mocking, ominous tone, reminding her of how afraid she used to be of cemeteries as a child. He chants, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," pointing to a shambling figure in the distance. Barbara, annoyed and genuinely unsettled, tells him to stop, but Johnny persists, laughing at his own dark humor as the distant figure draws closer. But the joke ends abruptly. The figure, a pale man in a tattered suit, lurches toward them. As Barbara attempts to apologize for her brother's behavior, the man attacks her. He grabs her hair, his movements animalistic and violent. Johnny rushes to intervene, wrestling the attacker to the ground. In the struggle, the man smashes Johnny's head against a gravestone. Johnny falls limp, killed instantly. Barbara, screaming in terror, scrambles away as the attacker turns his attention to her. She runs to the car, but Johnny has the keys. She locks the doors just as the man slams against the window, smashing it with a rock. She releases the emergency brake, and the car rolls down the hill, crashing into a tree. Panicked, she abandons the vehicle and runs blindly through the woods, stumbling toward a farmhouse she spots in the distance. Barbara reaches the farmhouse, desperate for shelter. She pounds on the door, but there is no answer. She forces her way inside, finding the house dark and seemingly empty. The interior is filled with the trophies of a hunter animal heads mounted on walls, adding to the grotesque atmosphere. She moves through the kitchen and living room, calling out, but silence is her only reply. Venturing upstairs, she discovers a gruesome sight, a gnawed skeletal corpse on the landing. Terrified, she rushes back downstairs, intending to flee, but headlights sweep across the front window. A pickup truck roars up the driveway. Ben, a capable and imposing man, leaps from the truck. He is armed with a tire iron and exudes a frantic but focused energy. He spots Barbara and pulls her back into the house just as more of the strange figures begin to emerge from the darkness. Ben immediately takes charge, locking the doors and assessing the situation. He asks Barbara if there is anyone else inside, but she is slipping into a catatonic state, unable to process the horror she has witnessed. Ben realizes he is on his own. He begins dismantling a table, using the wood to board up the windows and doors. He explains to a shell-shocked Barbara that he was listening to the radio in his truck. These things are happening everywhere. People are being attacked by what look like ordinary neighbors, driven by a cannibalistic hunger. As night fully descends, the farmhouse becomes a fortress. Ben works tirelessly, hammering nails and dragging furniture to barricade the entrances. He finds a rifle and ammunition in a closet, giving them a fighting chance. He tries to get Barbara to help, giving her tasks to keep her focused, but she is lost in her trauma, obsessing over Johnny's death and the need to go back for him. Ben is firm, sometimes harsh, shaking her to snap her out of it, but her mind has fractured. He lights a fire in the fireplace, discovering that the creatures, ghouls, are afraid of the flames. He builds a bonfire on the lawn to keep them at bay, but their numbers are growing. Suddenly, the dynamic of the house shifts. The door to the cellar opens, and two men emerge, Harry Cooper and Tom. It turns out the house wasn't empty after all. Harry, a middle-aged family man, has been hiding in the basement with his wife Helen and their sick daughter Karen, along with Tom and his girlfriend Judy. Harry is angry, fearful, and immediately combative. He demands that everyone go back down to the cellar, arguing it is the safest place because it has only one door. Ben vehemently disagrees. He argues that the cellar is a death trap. If the ghouls breach that single door, there is no escape. Ben prefers the ground floor where they have room to move and multiple potential exits. A power struggle ensues between Ben and Harry, defining the central human conflict of the story. Tom, a younger local man, tries to mediate. He explains that Harry's daughter, Karen, has been hurt by one of the creatures and is unconscious. Harry is acting out of a desperate need to protect his family, but his cowardice and selfishness make him a liability. Helen Cooper comes upstairs, exhausted and worried. She confirms that Karen is burning up with a fever and the bite wound looks infected. The group forms an uneasy alliance, though Harry remains obstinate, eventually retreating back to the cellar with his family while Ben and Tom continue to fortify the ground floor. Ben discovers a television set and manages to get it working. The broadcast provides their first real information about the outside world. A news anchor reports that a wave of mass murder is sweeping the eastern third of the United States. The attackers are identified as the recently deceased who have returned to life, driven by a compulsion to eat the flesh of the living. Scientists and military officials speculate that radiation from a space probe returning from Venus has reactivated the brains of the dead. The broadcast advises citizens to stay indoors and lock their homes, but also mentions that rescue stations are being set up. This gives the group a goal. If they can reach a rescue station, they might survive. Ben devises a plan. The truck he arrived in is out of gas, but there is a fuel pump on the property. If they can refuel the truck, they can transport everyone to the nearest rescue center in Willard. The group springs into action. They find old jars and kerosene to make Molotov cocktails to distract the ghouls. Ben finds the keys to the pump. Harry, realizing his best chance for survival lies with Ben's plan, begrudgingly agrees to help by throwing the firebombs from the upper windows. The execution of the plan is chaotic and tragic. Ben, armed with a torch and the rifle, leads Tom out to the truck. Judy, refusing to be separated from Tom, runs out after him. They pile into the cab of the truck, while Ben rides in the back, fighting off ghouls. They drive to the gas pump, but in the nervousness of the moment, the key to the pump is fumbled. Tom, panicked, accidentally spills gasoline over the side of the truck while a torch is burning nearby. The fumes ignite instantly. The truck is engulfed in flames. Ben manages to jump clear, but Tom and Judy are trapped inside. The truck explodes, killing them both. Ben watches in horror as the ghouls, drawn by the noise and the scent of burnt flesh, descend upon the wreckage to feast on the remains of Tom and Judy. Ben fights his way back to the house, barely making it through the door. He pounds on it, shouting for Harry to open up. Harry, terrified and opportunistic, hesitates, contemplating leaving Ben to die outside to secure his own safety. Eventually, he opens the door, but the betrayal is evident. Den, enraged and fueled by adrenaline, attacks Harry, beating him for his cowardice. The group has lost 2 members, the truck is destroyed, and their morale is shattered. They are trapped. The situation inside the house deteriorates rapidly. The ghouls, emboldened by their meal, press their attack on the house with renewed vigor. They begin smashing through the boarded windows. Ben and Harry are forced to shoot and stab at the grasping hands and grotesque faces pushing through the barricades. In the midst of the chaos, the television broadcasts a final update before going off the air. Local sheriffs are organizing search and destroy squads to eliminate the ghouls. They are told to shoot them in the head or burn them. It is a glimmer of hope, but it feels very far away. In the cellar, the tragedy deepens. Karen, the sick daughter, succumbs to her infection and dies. Helen, weeping over her child's body, is unprepared for what happens next. Karen's eyes open, devoid of humanity. Let her off the god. The reanimated child attacks her mother. Upstairs, Ben and Harry hear Helen's screams. Harry rushes to the cellar door, but it is too late. He stumbles back as the ghouls breach the living room defenses. The barricades are failing. The sheer number of the undead is overwhelming the structure. Harry, realizing the ground floor is lost, retreats to the cellar, the very place Ben warned against. But now, amidst the total collapse of their defenses, it seems like the only option left. However, Ben is now focused on holding the stairs. Harry tries to wrestle the gun from Ben. In the struggle, Ben shoots Harry in the gut. Harry stumbles down the cellar stairs, mortally wounded, collapsing next to the reanimated corpse of his daughter. Ben is left alone upstairs with Barbara. Barbara, who has been catatonic for hours, suddenly snaps into a different kind of awareness as the ghouls break into the room. Among the horde, she sees her brother, Johnny. He is gray, dead, and shuffling toward her. A look of recognition and almost relief crosses her face. He does not fight him. She lets the horde pull her out into the darkness to her death. Ben is now the last human standing on the ground floor. He fights ferociously, using the rifle as a club, repelling the invaders, but there are too many. He retreats into the cellar, locking and barricading the door behind him. The exact strategy Harry had proposed at the start. Inside the cellar, Ben finds a nightmare. Weggery is dead. Helen is dead, killed by her daughter. Karen is approaching him with a garden trowel. Ben, exhausted but desperate to live, pushes the child away and shoots her. He is now truly alone, trapped in the dark basement with the bodies of the people he tried to save. He listens to the sounds of the ghouls tearing apart the house upstairs, waiting for the end. Or the door holds. The ghouls do not enter the cellar. The long night passes. The sounds of destruction above slowly fade. As the sun rises, a new sound drifts into the farmhouse, the barking of dogs and the roar of vehicles. It is the sheriff's posse. They are sweeping the countryside, systematically hunting down the ghouls. We see the posse men with rifles, dogs, and a casual, almost hunting trip demeanor, moving through the fields, shooting straggling ghouls in the head and burning the bodies. In the cellar, Ben hears the commotion. He wakes from a fitful sleep, realizing that help has finally arrived. He cautiously unbarricades the door and slowly climbs the stairs. He steps into the living room, peering out through the boarded window to see the sheriff and his deputies in the yard. He is relieved he has survived the night of the living dead. Outside, the sheriff spots movement in the window of the farmhouse. Seeing a silhouette and assuming it is another ghoul, he doesn't hesitate. He orders his deputy to shoot. A single shot rings out. Ben falls, a bullet in his head, killed instantly by his rescuers. The sheriff comments casually, "Good shot." The final moments of the story show the posse entering the house. They hook Ben's body with meat hooks, dragging him out of the house just as they did the ghouls. They throw his body onto a pile of other corpses in the yard and set it on fire. The camera lingers on the burning pyre as the credits roll, the smoke rising into the morning sky, marking a tragic and ironic end to the nightmare. Thanks for tuning in. Stay curious, stay awesome, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more amazing content.